What's going on, guys? So here we are, another episode of the Rocket Bunny FRS to Scion TC2 kit, and I've made some progress even though I've disappeared for a bit. I was traveling a lot, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this done as fast as possible with this being my daily driver and having to take some trips and whatnot. And so I finally got both front flares shaped and squared away. So, like so. So all that I need to do is go and use that tool that I made and reshape these rivet, like I guess cutouts. And so I'll get that done later, and probably around the time that I start cutting the fender. And then, and that should be good to go. So the next thing to do is work on the rear. Like I know I initially started this like series with the rear, and all I pretty much did was trim it so it could sit more flush to the back part of the rear body quarter panel. And so what's taken so long along with my trips is trying to figure out how to shape this rear fender flare to where it looks like it fits my car, not to where my car is just thrown on with a I guess Rocket Bunny flare from the FRS. Not that I'm dogging anyone who does that, it's just my preference to actually shape it to the car so that way it looks like it was meant and designed just for this guy here. And so yeah, so I've studied all kinds of cars. I mean, I looked at the way the Skyline one is done, how like the you know, Clinched makes their custom rear flares. I've looked at the way the FRS like version 1, 2, and 3 are done. And what I've finally come across is the WRX. Like I saw on Instagram, there's this dude who's got this WRX, and he's got this really cool shape that actually squares off kind of like I do. And the reason why I wanted to square off is because of this one body line. And so I feel like it just looked great. So what I've come up with, pull that boy out, is this design. Alright, so I pretty much want to get rid of all of this because technically on the FRS, like this design hits like where the rear door or where the door initially opens. And so I felt like that design kind of looked like useless for my TC. Just because it was like, why is it shaped like that? Why is it designed like that? Why isn't it square or rounded? And that's where I like had the problem coming up with. So I came up with a different design, several different designs. Like initially, to keep the square look, I thought about just coming down and having it just square blocked off and coming on. But since there is like kind of an arch, and I actually kind of like the arch because even though I have this body line here, there's initially an arch right here to where like the body meets up, or the top of the hatch meets up with the rear quarter panel. And so I was like, you know what, let me keep that because it actually adds a nice little touch to it. And what I wanted to do was just come down and like actually cut it up to where I'm even getting rid of this front piece, even though it like meets up with the car really nice. Like there's just like, I don't know, I almost felt like it just took away the design to come forward like so. So I kind of did it like so. And so now it's time to cut that and then replicate it onto the driver's side, and then eventually we'll figure out what we're going to do with this hole. Definitely getting like covering it up for sure. So voila, this is how it's going to, let's see what I can kind of look. Let's move my scrawny chicken leg there. Alright, so that's kind of how it's going to look, where it's going to come up and then go up with this arch and then square off. And of course I'm going to still have to incorporate the cap, but we'll get to that. I'm really hoping it's going to look great because I don't want to go and have to like solder the plastic back on. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so now you already saw the design that I came up with. I kind of showed you a short little clip, and I'm still pretty satisfied with it. So I'm going to go ahead and just make the cut. So I'm crossing my fingers that it's gonna look fine and dandy and great, because there's no turning back. So let's get this done. Trusty saw blade, definitely need that. And here we go. Long process. It's getting hot. Here in South Texas, we're looking at 80 something, 90 something degrees. I'm already sweating. Kind of wish I was back in Seattle. So anyhow, still cutting. It's coming along. Still using the blade. At this point, I wish I decided to use the Dremel, but it's alright. I'm going to keep doing with what I know best and keep going at it. So here we go. So there it is. Top, I'm going to hold on to that part so I can just trace it onto the other one so they're similar. So there's the shape. Not too bad. I definitely need to still take this power sander and you know, clean it up, make it a little sharper, maybe even make the body line a little smoother. But all in all, there it is. Power sander time. Now this part's important. You definitely want to take it easy, because if you're hanging too long, you'll burn it at a crappy angle, or you'll put like indentions. So I'm still needing to sand some more, so that way it looks a little more smooth, roundabout, and then flatten this piece a little more so it just looks like it flows better. So I'm going to keep going at it. So remember to go and sand it at an angle here so it still sits flush. Like if you go and you look at the stock side, it's kind of like thin at an angle. So you got to keep that going through, and that way it sits flush against the body. So that's it. I think if anything, it's going to heat it so it can mold a little better. And then on these rivet spots here, I just need to thin them out so that way they don't protrude so much, and they actually have a little flow. Alright guys, so I'm stoked. It's finally done. Both sides are cut, shaped, and everything that I needed to get done on just the rear fender flares. Thank God it's already done. It was a scary process. You know, like coming up with the shape wasn't easy. And so I'm pretty happy with the shape that I did come up with. I do need to make some small little sanding points and just to make the lines a little smoother and then shave the back a little bit. But all in all, the shape where it's at right now, I'm pretty excited about, okay, so this is like pretty much front view. This line actually still sits pretty flush with the side skirt, which is very cool. If anything, I just need to heat it a little bit so it follows this little indentation here. And then of course go and make the rivet mounting points. And if anything, just sand this a little smoother so it just transitions really cool like with that arch. And so I'm pretty happy with it, it does set it away from like an FRS kit, I think, just because it took away that extra little door piece that doesn't exist on the TC. And it still follows this like body line here. And of course, I still need to cut out the gas cap pole, and I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so this is the gas cap section that I'm talking about, right there. Of course, I'm not gonna actually make that cut until like I've actually riveted it on and made the cut on the actual quarter panel. And the reason being is because I want to make sure it's exactly where it needs to be, so that cutout is perfect. I don't want it like shifted to the left or to the right or down or whatever the crap, because going to fix stuff like that really sucks. And so it does fit so much better, but of course, like I said, my sidekick tape isn't holding it on all that great. And so there's the angle. There's the angle. All right, so then now let's move on to the back of it. Okay, so sitting crisscross applesauce or whatever it is that these kiddos say doesn't work for me. I'm too tall. I'm not very flexible, but I'm gonna try anyways so I can get closer to what's going on. Okay, so there isn't gonna be this gap here because the rivet points are gonna actually hold this flare down, which is very cool. And once it's held down, I'll know how much to trim here, like so. And so like there's just only like less than an inch, I mean not even an inch, half an inch or so that's needing to get shaped and trimmed. And of course I have the cap. Now the cap is going to be here, and it's going to be one solid piece. So what I'm going to do is trim this down and here as well, and actually like make it one good solid piece. So I'm going to like weld that plastic together. I have a plastic welder, and then I have to go and trim off this section here. And so that way it actually continues to follow my wheel well, and which isn't going to be a big deal. So once that's cut, it'll actually sit like so, and this part's going to actually end up higher. But what's cool is this line will actually end at this body line here, and so it's going to actually still look like it belongs the way it should, like I designed it that way. So thank God everything's turning out the way I really wanted it to. I always go in these things thinking, is it going to work, you know? And just with a little bit of patience and a little bit of know-how and a bunch of thinking, it always turns out to be the way I'd like it to be. It's all about faith. So I finished both sides. Let's go around. And so there's the driver's side as well. It's finished. Or I'm sorry, passenger side. It's finished too. And of course I still need to take the time to figure out this hole, but that's going to come hopefully within the next episode or two. And same thing here, it just needs to be slightly slightly sanded. Man, say that 3-4 times fast. And so that way it sits a little more flush. You see, so this is the way it came from the factory. See how it sits real nice and flush at an angle, and this is where my cut is, and it's just kind of squared off. So all I got to do is like keep brazing it with the power sander, and it will make a flatter finish. And then of course heat mold so that way it fits here. And yeah, I'm pretty happy, you know. Here it is at different angles. I'm sure you all can see that. I know it's getting dark out. There it is at different angles. And I'm pretty excited. You know, of course I have to still push this rear tire out, you know, and that's going to happen sooner than later, hopefully. I just have to drive around with a busted cut up car that looks like a monster truck. But hey, whatever you got to do to make it happen. And so there it is. I'm pretty excited. All right, guys. Well, I want to take the time to thank you for actually watching and following my build and series. You know, if you aren't subscribed, help me out, hit subscribe, you know, finish watching the build, whether you like it or not. If you don't like it, hey, you know what? Subscribe anyways, follow me and see like how crappy it's gonna turn out or whatever. Or maybe I might prove you wrong. It might actually turn out pretty damn cool. And if you, of course, if you like it, rock on. Thank you for all the support and all the people who contact me on Instagram to actually talk to me about it. Always appreciate all of your support. It actually fuels me to keep going with it. I mean, there's times where I'm like, man, life is getting me. It's taking longer than I wanted it to, and but I know there's a lot of people out there that want to see it done. I want to see it done, so I'm going to keep going with it. You know, so thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. Leave comments down below. Hit me on my Instagram at Jason_TC2. And, you know, talk to me. I'm pretty humble. I'll talk to anybody about all this stuff. It's very cool. I'll walk you through the steps if you decide to take this route. And even if you want to change the shape and do something a little different, let's talk about it. You know, I'm all about it. So thanks guys for watching. Take it easy. Hopefully I'll get that next episode out soon. Rock on, guys.